now. All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. This is our third community call for the OpenCovid19 Initiative. We are very happy to have all of you here. It's been a very intense week, especially here. I'm talking for France and Europe, where now we are under confinement, and so I'm speaking from my couch, and I hope that my Wi-Fi is going to be strong enough to make this whole recording. So let's cross fingers. So we have a lot of things to go through today, and for the ones that are just arriving, please mute your microphone, and if you need to speak up, just raise your hands. We'll see you. All right. So first of all, so last time we had this call, we discussed a lot of things.
So many stuff. And,
okay.
Before, when there were everybody in the shops, I went at the worst timing.
Okay. Hopefully, I have the power to mute people. So we went through a lot of things, and so one of the major updates that we can provide is that the community has grown a lot. From I think last week when we had this call, we had only about 100 to maybe 200 people involved. Now we are more than 1,000, and it's very worldwide. It's very impressive. It also means that we have a lot of challenges to create a management system that works with that much people. But we're working through it, and we have the help of many people in this community, and that's fantastic. And if you want to get involved, just have a look at the government channel on Slack, please. So another update is the main difference from last week is we now are completely transformed into a program. What does that mean? It means that if you go, we have now like a single link for all the resources and all the programs that we have. Sorry, I'm trying to mute the people at the same time. It's a difficult exercise. Do you know if there is a way to, okay, mute all?
Il y a un mute all bouton.
All right. All right, perfect. That's great. So what does that mean is that we have a more centralized platform for the COVID-19 activities. It means that it's easier for people to find what's going on, what are the tasks to perform, to help on the projects that are going on, and also for partners to join in. So if they're looking for like a larger community to plug their own resources, that will be helpful for that. And we have actually several opportunities like this I will be speaking about. So today is actually the official moment where we'll be able to share the news that this is becoming a more large-scale program with more like sub-challenges. We started with the need of creating a DIY open source diagnosis kit. But now it has branched out into a detection challenge, a treatment challenge, and a prevention challenge. There may be also new challenges in the future. So I'm inviting you to go also and look at the challenges pages. And also, we are in need of people that are interested in documenting those challenges and this program with us. What I was saying is this is the first day of the launch. So what would be great is after this call, if you could use the link and share it to your network and make it clear that if someone wants to play a role in OpenCovid19, that's the link to go to, and they'll find the whole procedure for onboarding, and they'll be able to choose from different projects. So that's going to be very important. The next state of advancements, talking about the community. So we've grown a lot, and I'm going to ask Mark to provide us with some updates. So Mark Santorini is also a co-founder of JOGL, and he's been working mostly on analyzing the network of collaborators within this initiative. And Mark, are you here?
Yeah, can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Wow, beautiful. All right. Hello, everyone. Let me share some slides. So just a quick one. So I'm a co-founder of JOGL. I'm a physicist originally, and I'm also leading a scientific team in Paris. And I'm a network scientist. So I look at how people organize in collaborations, whether it's teams, interdisciplinary teams doing science, or large open source communities, or students involved in collaborative learning. And I try to understand what is linked to group performance. And obviously, in the context of JOGL, the idea is how do you convert that to development? How you take this research and do some kind of development of strategies of how to link people to other people or to other resources they might want to interact with. To kind of go to what Thomas was saying, we indeed have had quite an exponential growth in terms of number of people using the platform, or in terms of number. I mean, Leo is working a lot on the code right now because there's a lot of requests per minute on the platform. So it's quite crazy. I have the impression to have like a Linux, instead of being of 5 years, it's like in 3 days. You know, it's like it's really taking off. And indeed, as Thomas was saying, it's from all over the world. This is the map. I've never seen that. I don't think I've ever seen a scientific collaboration that is as worldwide in such a small span of time. So this is quite an amazing opportunity to really activate the world collective intelligence on a topic that matters for everyone. What I'm doing, the kind of thing right now that I'm looking at is what kind of needs people have and how do you connect different needs on the platform, because in the end, behind the platform, there are networks. There are networks of people interacting. They're interacting on Slack or on the platform. There are different skills. And the idea is, how do you make sure the person with Python talks with the person with microbiology, so that they make something happen, because one might have a need that is fulfilled by the other. And as you saw on the platform, there is a need object. So there's this little card that you can fill. And we're working a lot right now on it, in order to make it a central point of the way we can connect people on the platform and better facilitate interaction and facilitate the community building. So we're doing that in the context of a meta study, and I have a channel on the Slack that I'm going to link to in the chat. It's the meta study channel. The idea is we literally have an opportunity to have a gigantic group where we can literally try to look at the collective intelligence happening and try to even increase it and facilitate it. And so all this collective intelligence work is based on prior scientific papers that have literally said, well, you guys need to develop better collaboration tools to make that happen. And we're doing that right now. So in terms of what are needed in what we want to do right now, we want to do a mixed method study on what is happening on the COVID program. A mixed method means that we want qualitative insights. Why do people come? Do they easily find how to engage? What do they need in terms of path to engagement and path to impact? So this is kind of a UX, user experience aspect. We need also help on gathering as much data as we can from digital traces on how people have interacted and how the community self-organized, either using Slack API or Elasticsearch request on JOGL. We also need a dashboard for visualizing that. So we already have some dashboard that we have on our end, but we need something specific to looking at these networks of interaction and this kind of health of the community. And finally, all that, what we need is implementing strategies in the next days and in the long term, in the next weeks, of how to best design notifications so that we can make sure that when we're 500, 1,000, 2,000 on one small project, we're sure that the information goes to the right person and doesn't overload anybody, and nobody is a bottleneck of anything. So that's the idea. And if you want to help on that, come to the meta study channel and give some information about you. And I'll organize another meeting in the next days just focused on that. So you see a bit the kind of skill set, and we can talk about it more in the next few days. And
Fantastic.
I give the talk back to Thomas. Thank you.
Thanks, Mac. So that's great, and we'll be continuing this kind of study. I think it's very important, not only for this initiative, but for other people interested in open science in the world to understand how those kind of communities really organize themselves. And so what I'm going to do right now is, because this is an initiative that is composed of many individual and local initiatives, I think it's very important that we hear about what's going on, what kind of advancements has been done. And so I'm going to call first, I think Ellen from Annika. Ellen Jorgensen, are you here? I think you're muted.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
I am.
So I think you've made some improvements and advancements on the environmental monitoring kit. Well,
we've actually been stymied by the inability to get a reagent from Thermo. So we started out with the idea that we would use the commercially available, all of the reagents that the CDC has in their protocol. And we're currently trying to get stuff from Takara Bio. It's some of the qPCR reagents. We decided to go with the RNA extraction kits from Zymo because we've been using Zymo kits for a lot of different things. I know there are lots of different ways to do the RNA extraction, which is the first step. So the rate limiting step at this point will really be, since it's column-based, the centrifugation. So we're certainly interested in anyone who might have any insights into other ways of RNA extraction. I know the magnetic bead-based extraction is what the OpenTrons people are using, and we do have one of those robots. I think mainly what I want to say to the group right now, since because of the reagent backlog, we're probably 2 weeks away from actually rolling out the kits, and at that point I can give you more information about them, is that we are absolutely open to helping other people develop alternate ways of environmental detection. So if anyone has something that they've done some proof of concept on and they want someone to validate it against the CDC protocol, we are absolutely open for that. And our lab is up and running. Our staff is very carefully driving to work and not getting near anybody else and maintaining social distance. But we intend, even if New York City goes into a complete shutdown, we've already prepared flyers for our people to carry to say that we're actually working on the COVID-19 effort. So hopefully this was actually the health department in New York City, when I finally got through to them after like an hour, was the suggestion that they gave us. In order not to get stopped if we go under the sort of same constraints that San Francisco is under right now.
So if people want to learn more about your protocol or wants to help you, where can they find you? Like, do you have maybe like where on the Slack so that we can find you?
Well, I'm usually lurking in the environmental testing channel, but I guess we've reorganized. So anything, the new channel that's either diagnosis, what is that new channel again? Remind me.
It's a detection and diagnosis, yes. Detection
and diagnosis. I'm lurking on that channel. I've also volunteered for the biosafety board, and we're getting that together as well. But that's that's another story.
Yes. Thanks so much, Hélène. So next, we're going to invite. Wow, there's a lot of things being written down. So do we have Tom from OpenCell there? Tom? Not sure. Well, if we don't have Tom, then so just Tom, OpenCell is working right now on implementing the protocols that was shared by OpenTron to do massive testing, and so they are using their resources, their local resources, to implement this at the London level. And I know they've been doing, they had some investments. So we'll see. Maybe he will be joining later in the call. So next, do we have Koini? From Kioni, yes, from FreeGenes. Are you here? Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Kioni. Could you tell us more about how FreeGene is, participating to this initiative? Like, what are you doing for the COVID-19?
Yeah, so for the people who don't know FreeGenes, we are a project out of the BioBricks Foundation that wishes to make genetic tools free and open source for as many people as possible. And so we have shifted recently to looking much more into making potential COVID-19 toolkits. So the things that we are building right now is a collection of all of the different COVID-19 proteins for expression in yeast or E. coli, for distribution, for finding if different drugs might be active against them, or other applications. And we are also synthesizing all the enzymes that may be necessary or used in detection assays. So if in the future that enzymes become a limiting factor instead of just RNA prep kits, we'll be prepared with the ability to produce large quantities of enzymes locally. And then we'll be shipping all of those out. Normally, our time span of synthesis takes about 8 weeks with Twist Bioscience, but we should be getting that down to 2 to 3 weeks with collaborations with Ginkgo. Ginkgo Bioworks is actually volunteering for all the hardest parts of the DNA design, which is like which expression vectors should they go in. So they're open sourcing their in-house expression vectors at Ginkgo in order to help with this effort. So that's basically what FreeGenes is doing. We're also looking at metrological toolkits to perhaps synthesize controls for COVID-19, although we are a bit cautious with synthesizing COVID-19 DNA. And then one other thing to mention, I don't know if anyone is from OpenTrons is here, but recently last week I was helping set up OpenTrons to do automated COVID-19 detection. So if anyone has an OpenTrons, they might want to check that out, since it seems like it'll be working. It'll be able to scale up to thousands of patients.
Great, thank you, Kioni. Can we get, if people wants to learn more about what you're doing and wants to collaborate with you, how can they find you? Do you have maybe like a channel on the Slack or something like that?
I don't have a channel on the Slack. Can I make one?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
All right, I will make a FreeGenes channel, and that's where I will post updates with what FreeGenes is doing.
Awesome, thanks. So does anyone wants to speak up about the initiative of the project they've been working on, like sharing some news or maybe sharing a concern? That would be the moment. Then we will be going through the rest of the program.
Hi, Thomas. So this is Harry from Ghana in Africa. I mean, what we have been doing in Ghana to contribute to the COVID-19 as far as Africa is concerned, and having to record some few cases in Ghana, is that we very much reckon that, I mean, before you can get into testing, you need to have like, I mean, a very standardized laboratory with a biological safety biological safety 3, I mean, resourcing. But most labs in Ghana do not have that level of, and not only Ghana, but other African countries do not have that level of resource. And so what we are trying to do in Kumasi Hive and the Hive Biolab, which I mean, I'm running, is to develop an open source hardware, which would, I mean, we are going to fit with hacked filters from air conditions to help create that laminar flow. So you create a level for, or an environment for people to work with these possibly pathogenic organisms. So, I mean, that's how small we are contributing a project. We have started, we have like a first prototype that is capable of providing some level of germicidal properties to other forms of pathogens. But now what we are trying to do is to see how we can create a laminar flow and then have some IoT inbuilt to provide additional safety for, I mean, users. So that is one way we are trying to leverage open source hardware in the fight against COVID-19 remotely. right now, I mean, we can fully be convinced that what we have built has the capability of working with the SARS-CoV-2 pathogen if we have samples to test. And I think we would be in a better position to see how we can leverage environmental testing kits in trying that when we are not too sure, I mean, how what the hardware we are developing will come out. And one thing that we are trying to do is to see how we can make designs freely open for other community labs elsewhere that are not resourced enough to build this. I mean, within 2 weeks turnaround time to have this sitting in their labs to contribute largely to the detection process. So that's what we have been doing here in Kumasi, in Ghana.
Fantastic. Would be great if you could have also maybe a channel in the Slack or like a project, a standalone project on JOGL so that people can find you easily. That would be great. I'm sure other people are interested in the same approach.
Okay, so I will just quickly do that and we'll get conversation started. Thanks.
Okay.
And I will be certainly happy if you have people who are interested in supporting the course, especially with the testing side, for us to move past and see what the data that is coming out of what we are building, just to contribute to this effort.
Sounds great. Sarah?
So at BioBlaze in West Chicago, we are ordering components to try to replicate the Mammoth protocol to make some kits available. And so we're going to coordinate directly with Sophie, working with Zach, and the idea, of course, to make it get completely the same components, like Ellen was saying, as Zach and Sophie are using, and then hopefully we'll both be successful, and then we'll immediately have confirmation from another independent lab because both of our labs are working in conjunction. And so I know there's the channel for this. But I just want to make everyone know, in case you're also doing this at the moment, let's all coordinate and get as much as possible the same components from the same places and work on this together so that it's more impactful when it's successfully replicated, because then we have lots of independent confirmations.
Sounds great. Thank you, Sarah. We have 3 more people. Pauline wants to speak too.
Hi, so right now I'm helping coordinate a small task group, and what we're doing is actually very relevant to Mark Santolini's meta study. We're actually looking at the survey responses, and we're trying to create a dashboard kind of based on similar principles. The goal is to identify certain geoclusters among our members, and the reason this is important is that we are also looking for available lab spaces for people to work on, and we need to know how well distributed and how accessible those are to people that might be joining the group, that might be coming, say like maybe into Seattle, and there's a very large cluster in Seattle, or I saw another one in Barcelona, and I saw one in France. So in addition, what we would like to do is we would like to gather, I guess, the survey responses of skills and expertises that people are listing in their when they reply to the survey, and it would be very interesting, I think, to coordinate that with Mark Santolini's data. I would also like to add that as of yesterday, we originally weren't looking for more people because we are trying to keep the group relatively small so we can keep focused and very, I don't know how to put it, so it stays relatively organized, but we are looking for someone that has experience with dashboard or sorry, let me check the chat, but we are looking for someone that is experienced with dashboard or platforming tools to come on board so we can have a dedicated version to making this very usable and very accessible to maybe someone coming into the group and trying to see where they can connect with immediately and physically.
Just 1 5-second comment, but let's discuss on the side. It's fantastic, and we can also connect with Leo, who can help us define better the skill set for the dashboard, and then we can look at that in the community. Fantastic, thanks a lot.
Okay, awesome. So I am talking to, I think, a couple people about it, about getting a dashboard, someone who works with dashboarding and platforming. But I think once we get that one person, we're probably going to close the task group, that particular task group for now. I'm personally also open to other projects outside of that, since I have a lot of free time right now. So please let me know what I can do to help. I think I've posted my skills and experience in various places on the Slack.
Sounds
All right,
great.
thank you so
Pauline.
much.
I think next we have Mark.
So hi guys. So yeah, there's another Mark. There's Mark S. I'm Mark B. Okay. So I take care of communication, and what I want to say is that among all these, to be honest, wonderful projects, since I'll be taking care of the communication with David Liu, and that we're going to establish the socials, social media and everything, each of your project, if you need help or visibility, or since we're planning on, well, getting big on social medias and the website and everything, if you need help or advertise in a way, we need help for this, we need help for that, like, but on a worldwide scale, so that anybody can see it. Just ask me, Slack me, Slack message me. I'm here for that.
Awesome, thanks, Mark. Then we have Yukaval.
Ju Cavaleiro.
Sorry, Yukaval.
Oh, don't worry. Hi, guys. I'm Juliana. I'm a designer. Actually, I'm working with user experience research here in Brazil. I work for a software company and have had already an experience with community web apps for agriculture. So I think I can use these skills to work with interactions inside communities. And currently I'm working with dashboards. So I think I can help you guys with these two subjects. And I'm willing to bring my people from my work to the project. So, but I need to know in advance, or have a better picture of what kind of skills are you going to need. We work with Scrum, so I think it's a nice way to release the projects, and that's it. I'm willing to help.
Thanks a lot. So I think we're going to go to the next point of today. So as this initiative is growing, we actually are expanding also its management structure, and also we're looking for external help in supporting the community, and also in terms of leadership and experience. And one person, like a very important to me, he's been a friend for a long time, has joined this initiative. He's David Kong. He will present himself, but he has a long experience in managing communities and helping them achieve collective intelligence and collective learning. And so many of you actually know David here because you've been part also of his community. You know how great he is. So David, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. It's such a thrill to be here. My name is David Sun Kong. I direct the Community Biotechnology Initiative at the MIT Media Lab. Again, I see a lot of familiar faces and old friends, so it's really thrilled to be joining this call. Just a really brief background about myself. I've been in synthetic biology, developing technical tools and high throughput chip-based systems for gene synthesis, protein synthesis, cell culture, et cetera, for more than 15 years. And I've also been a community organizer and a social justice activist for that same period of time. And so, both of those skills are kind of what I've been really focusing on professionally in the context of my work at the Media Lab. I was also at the MIT Lincoln Laboratory for 5 years, helping to found a synthetic biology center there. So I've also got a lot of connections in the federal government as well through my years there. I'm also the founder of the Global Community Bio Summit, which is how I know many of the folks that are on this call. So again, we have, through that network and through those years of organizing, we have a huge amount of experience in organizing groups of hundreds of people through a variety of different tasks and structures. So again, I'm really excited to help however I can, leveraging some of those skills over the years. We've done a lot of leadership development and training around movement building. We had a whole fellowship program, which a number of the folks on this call were a part of that fellowship program, learning about how to structure movements, how to structure campaigns that could be impactful to local communities. So hopefully those skills will also be useful. I also am a close collaborator and part of the Center for Collective Intelligence at MIT. So Mark, that was cool that you cited that paper. Tom Malone is a very dear friend and collaborator, Sandy Pentland as well. So again, from a collective intelligence perspective, what is happening right now and why I think this project is so exciting is indeed this activation of a larger global supermind that could be directed towards solving these COVID-related problems. So so those are all skills that I really hope to bring and to help this community out with. In our own research lab at MIT, there's a lot of work being developed right now on open source tools for tackling different problems connected to this crisis. Again, many of you are aware of these different ventilator projects, respirator projects. Our own lab is working on high throughput chips for diagnostics. So could you do chip-based scaled up systems for doing high throughput testing? And so again, there's a lot of other partners as well that are being mobilized. As you can imagine right now, JOGL and OpenCovid, there's this network that's going, but there's so many other parallel networks that are also being mobilized at different scales. And so, again, in the coming weeks, and again, I think the other thing to emphasize, this is a marathon, not a sprint. This thing is going to be something we're going to be focusing on and thinking about for a very long time. So I'm excited to be a part of this network and to help however I can and connect it as well with many of the other efforts that are happening, both in academia that I'm aware of, within industry, again, in the synthetic biology community that many of you are part of. There's also very strong mobilizations that are occurring. It's going to be an ecosystem-wide effort to really address the issues that face us as a civilization. And so I'm really excited to be a part of this open science project, which brings together so many creative minds around the world. So yeah, thrilled to be here, excited to help, and looking forward to what's next.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. We are one goal of this initiative is to bring guidance, expertise, and resources to the members of this committee and to the projects. And so we've been doing one thing. Leo has been asking for a partnership with it's called Paperspace. And could you tell us like a few words about that? How it's going to help members of this community?
Sure, of course. So one of the things that I've seen a lot of people ask around was where do I get compute resources? Because a lot of scientists, epidemiologists, and designers and stuff like that, they basically just needed to have machines, CPUs, GPUs to run their analysis. And so I just contacted Paperspace, who basically have they have an open COVID initiative. I mean, at least like a COVID initiative on their end, so that if anyone from this initiative wants to use resources online, there is a simple process where you have to create a project on JOGL, link this project to the Open COVID program, and then follow a link that will be on the resource tab, so that they can verify your project and then give you credits basically to use free machines on their instances. So anyone that needs such compute resources for your projects, if you can't, if you don't have them, either go on the OpenCovid resource page or contact me if it's not there yet. Yeah.
Thanks, Leo. And so in the same direction, we're being contacted by different companies that wants to provide their resources to the help of, to provide help to you guys, basically. And so to give you a few examples, I think just today, two companies having access to massive amount of 3D printers, they told me, okay, what you're doing is great. How can we actually provide our resources to print a good design, for example, of mask? So right now, hospitals right now are especially in need, not of ventilators, but of mask. And so every day I have Eric Vibert, a friend of mine who is a surgeon in the hospital in Paris, telling me, okay, giving me updates about the situation in Paris. And every day, the one thing is, okay, the priority for us is getting masks. We need masks. Like, people are just not, we don't have enough masks. And so we need to be able to provide a simple design, that can be printed out massively and provided to the health professionals here. And so being able to print massively mask is an issue. Even if we have a distributed network of fab labs, that won't be actually, that will be helping. But like, however, you have industry actors that have access to a massive amount of 3D printers, and so we can call upon them, and they're contacting us actually. They're contacting us when we don't have yet actually a finished design. And so what I'm thinking about is that at the end, what we need here is to be able to converge as a community towards like a few design that we can test. And then once we have something that we can agree upon, we can send this to those partners and they can actually print this massively. And so I will be sharing more news regarding those partners and how we can interact with them in the next few days. Another thing, and which is not yet validated, but I'm very hopeful is going to be by the end of this week, is I've been talking with a foundation here based in Paris that funds research, and they're very interested in our approach, and I've been asking them if they would agree to fund this initiative so that we can provide also small grants to local initiatives so that they can pay for their consumables and materials. It's I think Sarah was saying that it's it can be harsh, for local laboratories to buy the consumables. So the idea is that how can we provide small grants, like I will say micro grants of let's say 1,000 or 2,000 euros, but to maybe like 30 or 40 instances, around the world. And then those projects will be able actually to advance much further, and we have an acceleration effect, and then we'll be able to converge faster, basically. So that's what I'm hoping for, and I will be keeping you guys updated, of course. And we are being also the point also is, how do we connect with other initiatives? Because what's going on here is one thing, but as David said, there are also other initiatives outside, and they're doing also amazing work. So at the end, it's, I would say, less about what we can achieve ourselves, but what's the best design out there. Either is it emerging outside, and then we have to take it and replicate it and validate it, as a community, or is it coming from here? So I think our efforts to just go around and look for existing solutions that are still appearing every day. It's a lot of people are being active right now. So at the end, what matters is not what who came up with what, is that how can we take something and validate it as a community, and we can say that this is reproducible, this is efficient, and this is good to produce, basically, because it's low cost. So that's going to be like one of the key goals of this community in the next few weeks. I've seen someone putting in the document Indie Lab. Is someone part of Indie Lab as a partner?
I am.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Bill Slavin. I put that there because I missed the introduction portion because I was having tech issues again. So not a new intro. I've been here since last week, but I wanted to also provide an update on what we're doing here, as with the rest of the community.
Yeah, please.
If that's okay. Yeah. So we're working on on-the-ground logistics of trying to both get supplies to individuals in need, and also looking at ways that we can increase sterilization opportunities, so that supplies that people get, food, other medical materials that they might need, aren't going to them in contaminated form. So right now our lab has been set up as a supply center where we're doing sterilization and storage using our sterile storage capabilities. So I don't know if a lot of people have been talking about doing those kind of things, but I think that needs to be out of conversation as we go forward. So in terms of the other logistics that we're working on, we've been talking to OpenTron since last week about trying to get testing platforms established here and trying to get those placed in biosafety level laboratories in the city so that we can try to expand to the same open cell platform so that we can expand testing in this region. One thing that would be helpful for people crunch in terms of the testing cable, if anyone has time. Sorry, I could try to speak. Sorry, my internet connection and it sucks at the moment, so I apologize.
No worries. So that sounds great, Bill. How can we find more about what you're doing? Do you have a channel on Slack, or maybe a project on JOGL?
Yes, so we have a Slack channel that I can add people who want to join to.
Can you put the link to what is the name of the channel in the chat?
Yep.
Thanks a lot. Okay. All right. So before we go more into the management thing, so we one thing we talked about last time is the importance of biosafety and biosecurity. And so since last week, we have now set up biosafety and biosecurity boards where we have about 5 or 6 members already that came, and we are very fortunate to have like a great diversity of skills, experience in this board. We're still working on defining the way this board is going to act within this program. But one thing for sure is that we're putting up expertise group within the Slack so that you guys can go and ask questions to, for biosafety, or it could be about chemistry, it could be about healthcare. The idea is that we need to be able to group experts together so that it becomes easier for you to find not only one person, but a group of person that can answer your questions. And so, we're still actually structuring all that, and so soon we'll be able actually to provide a direct way for you to have guidance in terms of biosecurity and biosafety. Before we go into the more boring parts of structuring and the whole initiative, which is very important. But do you have questions that we'd like to raise regarding what we've talked about just before? I guess we'll go to the next phase. Okay, I will give the microphone to Kat. So Kat is one of the key organizers of this initiative. And so she's been there from the very beginning. And so she's really been structuring this whole chaos, basically. And she's still in high school, and so she really impressed me every time. So Kat, the floor is yours.
Hey, Tomas, sorry, I couldn't get my microphone working. Thank you for the nice introduction. But I'll quickly introduce myself once again. So hi, everyone, my name's Kat. Like Tomas said, I'm a high school senior in Bellevue, Washington. I'm affiliated with Sound Bio Lab, and I spent the last 2 years leading the Sound Bio iGEM team out of there. And yeah, for the past wow, it's only been a few weeks that this thing has been going. I've been helping organize a lot of the efforts. I mean, since I'm still in high school, I don't particularly have an area of expertise, but I'm hoping to go into project management when I enroll in Duke University in the fall. So on to some of the more quote unquote boring topics. So one of the things that I wanted to put onto this call is the onboarding process. So since the last community call, we've put significant effort into making our onboarding process easier and clearer. if you see on the agenda, there's a link to the onboarding document. If people want to share it in the Zoom chat, that would be great. We're still fleshing out this document, but the very top of this document will be very important for everyone who's just starting to join. So if you're new, this would be a great place to start. It has links for the initial team survey where we can figure out where everyone's from, what resources they have. So like Pauline's group stated, we're trying to analyze the data so we can better connect people with the resources and expertise of this community. There's also instructions on how to receive access to the Google Drive. We will be shifting to a different Google Drive hopefully soon. We've noticed some hiccups with how this current drive is working with so many people having access to it, but we're trying to work on it. And then also there's a link for our Slack workspace, which is a good transition to talk about the Slack channels. So on the agenda, there's a list of the current Slack channels. We'll probably work with the governance group to try to update this weekly. But for now, this is a good way for you to take a look at all the channels. But I want to talk about 3 significant naming conventions for now, and then I'll hopefully be able to put out the more developed document later. So the first prefix is the PRGM or program suffix. So these channels are the ones for program-wide groups that have application to many challenges or many projects. So things like these are developers group, hardware group, groups based by skill or expertise. So people know, or from any program or project or a challenge, can ask questions. This also has channels like the announcement channel, introduction channel, questions channel that are posed to the entire group and that everyone's in. There's another channel with the CHLG prefix, which is challenge. So these are for the challenge groups. So we have 3 main challenges for now, which is the detection challenge, the prevention challenge, and treatment challenge, as per updated on the program page on JOGL. But if we choose to expand to more challenges, that will be the prefix for all those teams. Any sub channels for challenges, say a coordination channel, would have that same prefix at the top of it. And finally, and probably the most relevant one, is the PROJ prefix, or the project prefix. So for anyone creating or starting or running a project, please use this prefix first, and then name clearly and concisely the focus of your project so that people can easily scroll through using the prefix to see the types of projects to use. And then finally, just another small, I guess, expectation is that if you're creating channels, please update descriptions. And also, I think it goes without saying, but trying to be polite and respectful of everyone. And I think that's about it. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about Slack? Well, thank you everyone for your nice messages.
Don't be shy. There's a lot of people on the call. So the next part is basically to discuss about how we can better make the current resources of this community visible to others. And so we will be sharing a survey. So some of you have already filled that survey. And thank you for that. It's being very useful and it's being analyzed right now, as we were saying in the beginning of this call. But we want to actually know more. We need actually more information to really be able to understand what resources do we have and what skills do we have in this community, so that when the time is needed, for example, to do like manufacturing of tests or manufacturing of 3D parts, we know to whom we can talk with a given design. So you have basically like 2 main processes, right? You have the R&D, and then you have the manufacturing and the distribution. And so those can be decoupled. So we need to be able to understand who has access to what in order to get more organized. And so we'll be sharing this form with you very, very soon. So if you can actually answer this form, that would be fantastic. Especially if you're part of a network, let's say of FabLab network, please share that form also with people of your community so that we have access to more facilities. And
yeah, quickly tagging on to that. If you've already filled out the team survey, but perhaps didn't go too in detail with the resources or access you have to things, totally feel free to fill it out. I mean, as many times as you want. The more info we can collect, the better.
Sounds good. So next is that we actually need to understand more where you are at with your project. So we love forms. So there is another form on the document. You have the link. We'll be sharing this maybe in a more structured way in an announcement on the Slack of OpenCovid19. But the idea is that we want to make it more obvious for the member of this community to understand where the project are at, what level of advancement, and how can they help, basically. So for project leaders, that's going to be very important. And if you have an ID, a project ID, or an ID to just improve, the way this community works, please share it on the Slack or create directly a project on the JOGL platform, and then fill the form also. And follow the naming convention. That's very important. If you know of external projects that are relevant, don't hesitate actually to invite them to have a look to what's going on here, or even actually bringing, or making them create an instance on JOGL so that it becomes visible and we can create more links, basically. That could be really awesome. So we had examples like this happening. So it's at the end, what matters is that we don't have duplications of projects. So we really get aware of what's going on, and we can help projects that are the most advanced with the most momentum. That's really important. So we already actually talked about the biosafety board and the experts groups. So those are a group of specific expertise, and those are very important. But we need also the help from another group of people that knows how to do project management, and people that can help us lead chapters of this initiative. Right now, we have a program and we have several challenges, and so we will need to have someone who can really take care of one challenge, at a time. We have a challenge on prevention, we have a challenge on detection, we have a challenge on treatment. We actually may have more challenges in the future, like on how do you create a test center or local care centers, for example. And so at the end, we need facilitation. And so if you're interested in helping us manage the community, manage the activities here, we're in dire need, of such skills and time. So please contact us either mostly on the Slack. You can send a message in the governance group, the governance channel in the Slack. That's where you want to go if you're interested in management. That would be great. I think that we arriving at the end of this call. I don't have actually anything else much to talk about. Before we remind everyone about the next calls. So we have this committee call every week. So the next one will be next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Paris time. But we have other kind of calls that are more dedicated to specific kind of activities for development, so open source development of tools, for hardware, for governance, for communication, for the meta studies. So there is a centralized calendar that you can access that is open, and I will try to share the link in the document in the Slack as soon as possible. It's we basically finished all the items on the list, so we have a bit of free time. And so if you want to take the microphone and speak about anything you want that is related to COVID-19 and you want to share, and that will be relevant to this community, please do.
Just one thing,
Yeah.
Thomas, I'm not sure it was shared, but there's a lot of features we need to implement to help JOGL better organize the community, better organize the project management, etc. And we want the community to help think what features would be needed and also vote on the features to prioritize them for the next few days of development. And we're going to circulate soon a very, very simple Google Doc where you can add features that you can think of or vote on features that have been posted by others. And then we'll take the top N, depending on the time that it requires, and we'll use that for the development in the next days to really help foster the interaction, at least right now, and prioritize our workload on JOGL side. So I just wanted to add that. And you can, you're going to receive something soon.
Yeah, so JOGL is this open source platform, and Leo and Luca has been working very hard on improving it, and especially making sure that it doesn't crash and is able to accommodate the increasing number of people. And so it's the occasion that if you have a wish that will make this global collaboration easier, share it with us, and we'll try to make sure that we can encode it in the platform. All right. So who wants to share like a story or local story? Oh, Justin wants to talk.
Hi. So my name is Justin. I run the YouTube channel, The Thought Emporium. As to my knowledge, it's one of the largest, mostly biology-focused channels on YouTube. So I'm working with Vesta to do a couple different things. The first being is seeing if we can make the primer, like the PCR-based tests, a little easier, so that rather than needing the very, very expensive qPCR machine, seeing if it can just be run on in a regular PCR machine and then analyzed on a gel. And so the way that we're doing this is starting with just the regular CDC primers, rather than running them in the pairs that the CDC put forward, which ends up with very tiny amplicons that make it essentially impossible to analyze on a gel. We're going to be testing using different combinations of primers to get much larger amplicons that should be much easier to analyze on a gel. Within hopefully about a week, we'll have a plasmid that will allow us to test the primers. And we're working to make it so that can be made available, and so we can share stabs with everybody who wants to do the same sorts of things. And then in terms of the YouTube channel, I am actually working on a video on all of this stuff. I'm going to try and show as many of the different testing methods as I can sort of cram into the video as physically possible. I'm going to have an antibody-based test that should be arriving in the next couple of weeks. We're going to do the PCR-based thing. A friend is working on, I believe it's isothermal-based tests. And so he's going to be sending me a sample of the mix that he's cooked up, so we can test on that as well. Hopefully I can, put all of this into a nice, neat video and make it as accessible as possible. So that's kind of what we're doing. In terms of that plasmid and being able to share it, we're going to be, we might need to do a little bit of tinkering with it just to make it so it's actually shareable, because as it is, I'm not allowed to share it in its current form, but we're going to be just taking the useful parts of it, sticking it into a plasmid that's available, that I'm actually able to share, and then making it available to those who want to actually do the testing themselves. We're also tinkering with seeing if there's basically if there's an RNA extraction method that can be done with sort of cheap and readily available materials instead of having to buy the kits. One thing that we've found very quickly is that most of the biological supply companies are either panicking or just straight up shut down. So all of a sudden, access to reagents has become much more difficult. Adgene is no longer shipping. Thermo Fisher is being super weird, and actually getting anything from them is becoming more and more difficult. So basically trying to make everything as doable with the minimum number of materials, or materials that are as readily available as possible, is kind of our focus at the moment.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. Don't hesitate to create a link to what you do, or maybe share your video when it's done also in the feed of the program. That would be very useful. Thanks so much again. So we have two other people that wants to talk. So Ali. Ali.
I think you can do.
Hi.
Hi, Ali.
Can you guys hear me?
Absolutely.
Hi everyone. I literally found out about this project earlier today, so excuse me if I'm a bit sort of ignorant of what's been happening. I've been grappling with another global emergency, and that is climate change. I'm a basically academic researcher in climate change, and I do research in social science of climate change, namely community-based adaptation. I do qualitative research and action research, and I think that as with a lot of global challenges, a multidisciplinary approach is really good. So I'm here to offer my experience as a climate change researcher with you guys, and form collaborations and cooperate on these issues. Also, I have experience, more than 10 years experience in journalism in a prior career for the BBC. So I have experience in that field. I worked mainly in BBC radio and TV, and also in logistics. I set up my own company organizing trekking tours in remote areas. So I have experience in remote area logistics in that sense. But I'm going to get into grips with Slack, which is kind of new to me, and then communicate with you guys, and hopefully we can look forward to some really positive collaboration in the future.
Thanks so much, Ali. And don't hesitate to also join the Slack if not the case. You will find different kind of channels that are related to subjects of discussion. So normally they are pretty much self-explanatory. But if you need help, you can just send a message in the introduction channel, and then we'll help you. Thanks so much for being here.
Okay.
And then we have Joe.
Hi, I'm calling in on behalf of the Afric Archive team. So basically, just as a short intro, Afric Archive is a preprint repository originally, but we are also looking into the digital infrastructure for science communication on the resources. We originated from Africa OSH, the Open Science Hardware Summit in Ghana in 2018, and I think this is a perfect opportunity with which JOGL or Thomas is also a member of. And I just wanted to raise awareness. Like, I think now that the African continent is also ridden harshly by the virus, and we know how the situation is, or many of us know or can imagine what the situation would be like for the continent, and how difficult it will be, and already is, to coordinate across, like in Western context, and let alone. Anyway, so I wanted to ask how we can, or also raise awareness for the region specificity aspect and opportunities to collaborate with a global response, but being aware and also working towards region specific and local, or region, and on a very local and very practical approach. And things like that work, I think most things that we apply in Europe would not be as relevant, also relevant in African context, but the majority of the people are actually in rural areas, or in slums. So what are feasible hacks, and also, anyways, but focusing on bioscience, so Afric Archive also initiated a collaboration with a psychology science accelerator, which I shared a link in the chat. And basically the question here is, can we coordinate between Africa OSH, Africa Archive, and JOGL and other initiatives to help African scientists and bioscience, medical science, life science in general, maybe also other disciplines, to collect resources, to assess capacities, to help get equipment to where it's needed, to just support wherever feasible, from outside, from inside the continent, across nation borders and languages. Yeah. Okay, that's all.
Sounds good. Great. Thank you, Joe. Don't hesitate actually to share this, in the Slack, or if it can be done as a standalone project, also on JOGL, that would be very useful for people to gather around you. I think Sarah wanted to speak.
Hi, my name is Sonali. I actually found Sarah through through JOGL. I'm a PhD candidate in Madison, and I just wanted to mention a couple of things that I think might be big opportunities for this group. One thing that we are working on in Chicago is that we have this medical autonomous network. And about a couple days ago, there was a meeting that had a lot of healthcare professionals talking about within nurses unions, what the situation is like at their hospitals. And nurses are talking about how they're already overwhelmed. They have to go through hospital bureaucracy to get access to supplies. And I think that there is a critical opportunity for all of these community labs to start working with healthcare professionals in a way that is responsible and ethical, but bypasses a lot of the bureaucracy that is inhibiting these open source efforts from actually being effective. And I think that there is a drive right now for healthcare professionals to work with even things that are not necessarily, have the stamp of approval from whatever governmental entity. And I want to push that because I think that just given how fast we were able to get funding, so right here we're actually trying to maybe implement simultaneous protocols. So we got funding from this network to do basically the Mammoth LAMP protocol for isothermal amplification. We're thinking of ordering all of the reagents and supplies today, and maybe working with people at Sound Bio in Seattle to determine what is sort of the best protocol to follow for that. Simultaneously, we have some RNA extraction stuff left over, and I guess Justin just mentioned that we should use different primers for that. So yeah, thinking about how we can sort of parallelize both protocols and aggregate resources from sources that maybe we haven't thought of, because we've only been thinking of this in terms of governmental sanctioned funding sources, or yeah, and basically there's tons of mutual aid networks in all, so many cities around the world that I want to encourage people to tap into. And if you're thinking about doing something like this in Atlanta or Chicago or New York, please get in touch with me on the Slack channel, and I would love to put you in contact with people I know that are doing mutual aid to get funding, to get these protocols started, and to get labor into the labs to scale quickly. That's all.
Thanks. So could you share the name of the channel in the chat, that people are aware of it?
I will make one.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds great. I think, yeah, it's a very good initiative. Yeah, let's share resources and let's coordinate. Absolutely. I think Sonali wants to speak too.
Oh, that was me. So you can ignore that.
Oh, so you have your boss on the. Okay, all right. Thanks, Sonali. All right, guys. So basically, we're I would say 2 weeks, a bit more than 2 weeks into this initiative, and it has been growing massively. We now have a better idea of what's possible and what people can do. We still need more structuring, and everything is being done for that, so that you can better document what you're doing, find resources, find collaborators, or provide ideas So follow especially the guidelines that will be on the Slack or JOGL directly. Don't hesitate to share this initiative or to invite other projects that would be of interest to this community. And before we actually say goodbye and we go back to work, let's have this little session where we all say hi to the virtual crowd. So because this is being recorded right now, and so we want to be sure that we also say hi to the people that were not being here and that will be seeing this recorded session. So can you all activate your screen? That would be fantastic, and I will be taking a screen capture. That's fantastic. So, and then once we've done that, we can say hi, and I will be capturing it. Okay, say hi to the world. We're trying to save it.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Fantastic. All right, thank you guys. This is the end of this call. We're going to have one more next week, and there will be many more also in between for specific activities. Thank you again for being here. The rest is happening on the Slack and on JOGL. We're going to make things happen. The world is in crisis, but we've never been able to come together in this moment as much as in this moment. So there is a lot of hope. So thank you again, everyone, and be safe wherever you are, and have a good day, or good evening, or good night. Bye bye.